Hey guys, it's LL Rybun or Rybun here, and today we're gonna get around to it finally. Um, with this one, we're gonna be talking about the thief in particular. Um, I know you guys have wanted the rest of the classes to be talked about, and by far the thief is my most comfortable, my highest level character. Although I am finding that they're harder and harder to play as they go up in NG. Um, but that may just be user error on my part. So that being said, we're gonna talk about the thief today and all the stuff related to them and what I think, all that stuff. First, we'll talk about skills. I'm not sure if this follows the same format I had in my other videos, but I'm just gonna talk about everything, start to finish, what I think about the thief, which would probably be like skills, chapel, and I think items and drinks and statues, and I think that covers everything. I could be wrong. I'll also cover a little bit of mechanics in terms of how I play them, um, just because I feel like that's also kind of important. Yeah, there's a fair amount to talk about with the thief. So let's get right into it. That being said, I'm sorry. It's just habit. It's just habit. um, but yeah, we'll talk about Jeez, I don't know. I feel like what makes the thief is everything from here over. The primary is we'll talk about the primary because it's important, but it's not I think the most important thing out of everything here. Your primary is twin daggers. Twin daggers is a quick double slash, if you will, and you have decreased movement speed while attacking, which actually I didn't even know this. I mean, I'm sure I knew it in my brain, but once you get maxed out, it's very small, so you don't notice it as much. Um, Needless to say, since it's two quick attacks, it doesn't do a lot of damage. I want to say both of these are enhanced by Incendiary Demise because that would make the most sense. Therefore, very easily put, Incendiary Demise is the probably the most important drink on the thief. Even when you have it maxed out, it does more than triple your damage. Um, it's huge and something you should just take advantage of all the time. I don't think you can pull off a skill build for the thief. Uh, my two reasons for this are this is really your only damaging skill, your right click, or your secondary. I shouldn't call it right click. I'm so used to it just being a PC exclusive in my mind that I'm sorry. But yeah, your secondary ability is an active skill which throws knives, which increase in number as you level it up. I think the arc also goes up a little bit. Yeah, from 50 to 70. I'm assuming it's 45 before this. And the knives deal 32 physical damage and can pierce up to 10 enemies. Well, what makes skill builds so great, right? Let's think about it. It's usually Wilmer. Without statues, skill builds are still good, but they're not Wilmer level good. Wilmer takes your mana cost and amps up your damage by the mana cost. That being said, if you had a really high level Wilmer, um, you could end up with something really great. I think it's 5% of the skill cost per level. So if you had a level 20 Wilmer, you would be hitting for 20 extra damage on your thing that does 32. You wouldn't even be doubling it. You would have to get your Wilmer to almost level 40 to double your throwing knives damage. That being said, that's why I don't think the skill build for a thief would work that well. Of course, if you have like a level 100 or something Wilmer, it'd probably be way better than this because you're just being hit way better than primary because you'd be hitting for so much more damage. But your secondary really is not your bread and butter, I feel like. I've seen some people use it a lot. I just don't think once you get Incendiary Demise, which is a tier 3 drink, so you won't have that till NG. Geez, is it 2? 2. 1, you get normal drinks. Or no, 0, you get normal drinks. 1, you get, yeah, so 2. I think you can start getting it. That being said, primary is definitely what I recommend for the thief. Secondary, I you can make it work, but I think you need there's way too many prerequisites for it to be something you could do early on in the game or even mid game, depending on what you define mid game to be. I have a lot of hours in this game. Of course, I have hard reset my profile 3 times. That being, I'm so sorry. It's just a word I jumped to. Um, but you know, I have like 500 hours, 400. Let me check. I have 624 hours. Sorry, I'm gonna have to blur out some stuff. I was just thinking about that, so my brain froze because I don't want my friends' Steam names to be exposed. Um, but yeah, um, primary is definitely the way to go here. And you know, even with however many hours I have, my statues are not that high level. Because of that, I definitely can't play the skill build as a thief, and I think most people won't be able to. So I've said this probably 20 times now. I recommend primary for thief. Let's talk about the other stuff. Everything from here over is what to me defines the thief. First and foremost, your second active, which is grappling hook, which is a monster of a skill. There's a few important parts to this, but the most important I would say is you stun everyone around you, guaranteed, for 1.25 seconds. The cooldown of this skill, I believe, to be less than 1.25 seconds. This means if you're against a mini boss on a floor, you can mash your face into your keyboard on this, or your controller or wherever, and you'll be able to essentially permanently stun that mini boss. When you do that, you know they can't hit you back. It makes the fight against the mini boss an absolute joke. The other part that's important is that you have 100% evasion while traveling with the grappling hook. That means if you are in a trap room, let's say this is a trap hallway, and there's spikes all the way around here, even if they're all active, you can just grapple across. You'll take no damage, guaranteed. And that is the reason that the thief is by far the best class for traps, and also the reason that I personally suck at traps because I play the thief way too much. So I'm very used to using this. But yeah, the other thing that's important, last thing I'll note about grappling hook, is that the mana cost, unlike every other ability in this game, the mana cost goes down as you level it up. The other thing that goes up is the range. So there is literally no reason to not max this. Because you better stun, longer range, so you can go across traps even easier, and the mana cost goes down, which means you can just spam it out for longer periods of time if you don't have a ton of mana regen yet. Phenomenal skill. Phenomenal skill. I love this skill. You know, I'm a little biased. Thief is my favorite class on paper. I don't know if they're what I would rate to be the best class, but they're definitely my favorite. The last active you've got is Smoke Bomb. Smoke Bomb is, I don't know how to explain it other than it's basically just a giant evasion buff. It does stun. It does stun for 4 seconds, which is nothing to laugh at. One of my favorite things to do when I play Thief, and I'm sure you've seen me do it from any of my Thief runs, I like to grapple into a group of enemies, wait for them to come around me, and then smoke bomb, either that or I grapple in and immediately smoke bomb, attack them, and then once the smoke bomb runs out, I grapple out. Once it's coming back up, I grapple back in. If it's not up yet, I spam the grapple, and then I'll smoke bomb. This gives you basically everyone's either stunned or you have a very high evade chance if they're ranged attacks. And I think they removed the passive on Twin Daggers. I don't know when, but I think Twin Daggers used to block projectiles. So, or maybe it's over here. I don't know. We'll check in a second. But anyways, these two give you so much survivability. I'm recording my main monitor. That's why. I need to change that. Give me like 2 seconds. Alright, now you shouldn't be able to see any of my Steam notifications or anything like that. I'll have to blur that out as well. Um, but yeah, these two are the what I would say to be the bread and butter actives of the Thief. This one costs a little bit more mana if you level it up, but a 30% evasion compared to the 10% is huge. But yet again, if you can't afford to be constantly using it, if you're rocking level 3, I wouldn't rock it. It's super, super nice, and I would recommend getting it up to here as soon as you can. But you got to be comfortable with the mana costs and stuff like that. But yeah, phenomenal skill. These two just give you pure survivability. Your next passive, or next skill, which is a passive, is Sidestep, which gives you, you guessed it, more survivability. This thing is arguably better than the Ranger skill. The Ranger skill gives you 25% evade at max level, so does this one. The only difference is this is a complete passive. You don't have to cast skills to get it. And the other thing it does is it gives you a guaranteed evade every 3 seconds. In the grand scheme of things, the guaranteed evade probably isn't the biggest thing ever, but it definitely can save you. When you're fighting stuff like Thunder Snow, you know how he does those little icicle attacks? They're not coming in very often. So as long as you stay to one side, you can pretty much block all of them with the guaranteed evade. If you get in his Frost Breath attack, though, your normal evade will save you potentially, but your guaranteed evade will block one instance of damage, and it's not going to do much for you. But yeah, you don't get the movement speed like the Ranger, which is it's a downside, but this is a very good skill. I think all of the Thief's passives mesh really well, and that's why we got to talk about these two in conjunction, because these two mesh the most out of all of them. Slice and Dice is basically just an attack speed buff. One second. Okay. What this does is it just gives you a flat, or not flat, percent attack speed boost every single time you attack up to a certain cap, which increases per level, which is why this is one of the things that I would max out first, because its viability goes up exponentially. You get a 2% attack speed bonus that stacks up to 32 times. Because your twin daggers hit twice, you're going to be stacking this a whole ton, and once you do, you're going to be attacking at almost twice your speed. Not really almost twice. Not, it's kind of more like 1.5 times. But you know, this is great. You lose it after not attacking for a bit, which kind of sucks. And in the early game, that'll happen to you more often than in the late game. And the reason for that being this comes off of your primary, technically. So your ranged attack, unless they have patched it from the Chapel's Blessings, can also proc this. That means that each time you attack, you're just flying up in stacks of twin daggers, which gives you more attack speed, which makes you get more and more stacks faster and faster, and it rolls up to 32 faster than you would believe. That being sorry, this is a great skill. Gives you tons of attack speed. It's great. It's great. But yeah, we've got Vicious Cuts as the final passive, which, as I said before, meshes very well with Slice and Dice. This is a percent chance on attack to lower the target's current health by 5%. Yet again, like I said, this will proc off of your final Chapel buff, just like this does. And so ultimately, when you have a 10% chance of lowering the current health by 5%, you get 2 attacks off on this. You get 1 attack off on your Divine Strike. So you got 10% chance of lowering it by 1% health every single time you attack. I'm going to show you kind of how this works. This is super important to max out, strictly because it doubles, which is, I mean, doubling the chance from 5 to 10 is huge. And yeah, I mean, oh, I gotta tell you guys how I max this out first. I don't know. Starting out, uh, what I would do is I would get Twin Daggers up whenever you can. Again, in the early game, you don't have Incendiary Demise, so you can't just rock a tier 1 and be okay. I wouldn't recommend rocking a tier 1 anyways, but you definitely want to get this up first, almost all the time on primary builds, so I would do that on the Thief. Out of all these skills, I think the passives come first. I would put at least 1 point in Grappling Hook and at least 1 in Smoke Bomb. I would max the passives next. And then when you can't get passives anymore, if you have extra points, put them in Grappling Hook. But in order of precedence, the passives, I would say Sidestep for survivability, followed by Slice and Dice until you can get this. Then this is number 1, number 2, number 3. In terms of your active stuff, max Grappling Hook. This is the last thing you max. I would put 1 point in this and keep it at level 1 until you're far enough in the game that you can comfortably use these next 2 levels. If you want to take a risk and learn it and see what the mana cost does to your runs, you can definitely do it, but it can cause some issues. I would recommend keeping it at level 1 until maybe not everything else is maxed, but that's pretty much what I would say. I would max this first, probably this second, or well, actually this second technically, then this, then this, then this. But Grappling Hook is great. It's not too expensive to get up anyways, so definitely a contender for points. It's all up to personal preference, I guess. But this is great for trap rooms. If you struggle with traps, this is high priority. Otherwise, this is good, but you don't necessarily need a max level right off the rip. So it's kind of my thoughts on the skills, how I'd max them. And I'm sorry I talked about that for so long. I kind of realized I was talking about it a lot when I was doing it. But the rest of the video will be relatively short, so it should be fine. I'm going to show you the stacks. So you'll see if I attack once, I end up with 3 stacks of my attack thing. It's 1 attack. So what ends up happening if you hold, watch how quickly we end up at 32. And as you can see, we are attacking lightning fast. The other thing you'll note, I'll see if I can get it to happen. Yeah, the final passive can proc off of Divine Strike. So when you're attacking one target with all these, all those big numbers that come out are it procking. So just imagine that on a boss. I mean, it's monstrous damage you can put out. So we'll talk about the blessings next from the chapel. This is going to look identical to my, I believe, my ranger on the dot. Oh, when did I change it to Blessing of Mind? Oh, I need to change this back to Blessing of Intellect. I'm guessing I had this there when I first started, because I need mana for my smokescreen, and I don't think I have that problem anymore. So I can actually I can change that to this, and it'll be much better for me. But that being said, you're gonna take Path of the Defender for the primary one, the first one, because damage reduction is key at all times. If your evasion fails you, this is gonna save you, potentially. If your evasion is low, this will also help you out. This is just the best one. Increasing damage to your primary will not do too much for you. You'd rather just get it from attack power, trust me. So definitely go Path of the Defender here. For the second one, you've got 2 options. I think you have these options in general on any character. If you have skills that you want to cast, but you don't have enough mana for them, this is a quick fix, and this is the option if you don't have that problem. You can also avoid the situation where you don't have mana for skills. Like I said, keep your smokescreen at a low level, stuff like that, and just ignore this Blessing of Mind. But it's definitely an option if you want to have higher level skills and cast them. Blessing of Mind is pretty solid. But yeah, Blessing of Intellect, because most of your damage on your primary comes from Incendiary Demise. Destroying the enemy's resistance by 20% is huge. So I definitely recommend Blessing of Intellect. For your third one, this one's pretty much a no-brainer for any primary build. You want lifesteal on your primary attack. Reason being, yet again, crit damage you can get from your gladiator. Not super important. Thorns is not that great. Mana cost, if you're playing a skill build, you want this up. You could argue for this, like you could argue for Blessing of Mind, but yeah, in general, Symbol of Essence is just way better, and crit damage to your skills doesn't matter on the Thief unless you're running a skill build, yet again, but you're not, hopefully, unless you're really late game, so I would run Symbol of Essence. For the last one, you're going to run Divine Strike. This does a few things that are unique and nice for the Thief. First of all, like I said, it procs on your passives, and it's fast attacking. Its cooldown can match the attack speed that you have. Those are all very important factors as to why you take Divine Strike. You could take Divine Blast too, right? Thief is a melee character. Problem being, you're attacking way faster than this thing can proc, or at least I believe you are. So you can't take advantage of it as much. I think it's really good. You can make an argument for it, but this is better also because it gives you range. You can walk away from a target and still be hitting them and gain HP without necessarily charging into combat with a bunch of things. So you don't have to put yourself at risk to take advantage of the Symbol of Essence to heal up, to secure a success on your run. And that is why I would recommend Divine Strike. Divine Blast, you could argue for it. I could say it's maybe personal preference, but I think in general, Divine Strike will be your choice here. And I think if you test out both of them, you'll come to the same conclusion that I have. Next, we'll talk about drinks. Drinks are pretty much the standard primary drinks. What I've been running, I've got 2 sets of primary drinks I run. And that is you always take Incendiary Demise, no matter what. And then if you're doing combo, you do Frenetic Eruption and Wicked Sickness. And then you usually go Overflowing Physique and Crazy Eye, or I like to take Groovy Ghost sometimes. The other option is you can take Incendiary Demise with Markham's Moonshine. But if you take Markham's Moonshine, Wicked Sickness, and Frenetic are useless, so you stay away from those. And what you're going to want to take is the Overflowing Physique again, but then you have an extra slot. This one's up to you. You can take both Crazy Eye and Groovy Ghost. You can take Mellow Mist. You can try a bunch of stuff. Cranky Clergyman is okay, but you're going to want to use your Smokescreen a fair amount. So for that exact reason, I don't think it's optimal. Yeah, it's really up to what you want here, but definitely not safe bet. Losing luck is not an option on the Thief. I would recommend, personally, going the crit build because you have a lot of RNG stats. You almost purely rely on your luck to make you crit, to make you proc your passive, to make you evade. There's so many important parts to this. But yeah, I shouldn't talk about it in the item shop. I should talk about items at the anvil. My bad. Let's talk about items. I'll go more than just the primary items. I'll talk about what you want to enhance. I don't know if I did this in past, but I think it's kind of important. Your 2 big items are Heartseeker and Lucky Hat, like with every other primary build. You're critting, you're causing Frenetic to proc, you're getting into combo, you're dealing more damage, you're taking less damage because you take more damage outside of combo. This one's self-explanatory. And then you've got Lucky Hat, 8 luck. 8 luck. Just if you guys haven't looked at the luck chart for Here's the Hammerwatch, you should look at the luck chart at some point. Luck is phenomenal. If you get 50% evade at any point in a run, and that being said, in your Smokescreen you're at 47.5, you're pretty much guaranteed to just walk through the run. With luck, of course. 50%, I don't remember the exact numbers. I don't know if they've changed, but I think 50% evade with max luck is like above 90% evade. Um, so just think about that. You're gonna be dodging 90% of the damage coming at you. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Um, so these two are your big items. The other items you're gonna be wanting, you're gonna want to enhance early on, I would say, are stuff like Lucky Charm, any of the luck items. So Lucky Charm, Lucky Horseshoe, any of the evade items. Prioritizing Slippery Cloak because it gives you 6%. So doubling this is 2 instances of 6%. Whereas the sandals only give you 3%. Rapier Retaliation and Duelist Edge, those are all of the evasion items. If you get the full set, you're sitting at real pretty. The other things that are really nice are all the crit items. So Serrated Scimitar, Assassin's Dagger, Heartseeker. And the last thing I'd recommend are any of the items like the Spiked Flail. I don't know, I'm scrolling up. This guy, 3 physical damage on your primary attack. Enhance that. You're dealing 6 extra, which is almost half of your damage already. Huge, huge. But yeah, that's what I do for items. And last but not least, we'll talk about statues. I'm sorry that there's no cuts in this video. I just figured they'd be like 2 seconds anyways. So I figure it doesn't matter too much. This is pretty much what I run. I change it a little bit based on game, where you're at in the game. First and foremost, you're going to want to take Callus every time. This one's not debatable. 5% of your armor is added to attack power for each level of the statue. So at level 20, 100% of your armor is added to your attack power. This essentially means, this is more of a talking up the paladin thing, but it's super huge. Every single time your paladin goes up in NG, it acts as a paladin and a ranger going up in NG. Every level after that, your paladin adds more than your ranger. I mean, that's food for thought. Food for thought. But yeah, this one's huge. You also have a 20% chance to block most projectiles, and that is huge as well. That being said, this is undisputable. You always take Callus. Always take Callus. The other ones that you have options of are, of course, Felarath. Works very well with the Thief. Lowers the health of the attacker by 5% when evading. Alright, so let's see, in the luck and evade set, as I said, you can get up to, what is that, 90-ish%? So you're going to be causing tons of, imagine sitting in Thundersnow's breath attack and doing 5% of their health to them. Just imagine. You could probably kill Thundersnow by just standing there and dodging well enough. Yet again, food for thought. Not necessarily something that'll happen. But yeah, the other thing it does is disarmed and stunned enemies, which you produce a lot of with your smokescreen and grappling hook. You do extra damage to. Very nice. Overall, this is just all positives for the Thief. The other one is Bolgarth. Bolgarth is really nice. I think Bolgarth is a really good introductory statue. One of the first ones you should run on a primary build. Maybe not on a ranged character, but definitely on melee. He causes a combo blast that deals 100 magical damage around you. This scales off of skill power, so it's not going to be the best thing in the world for you. But it's noticeable damage, and it increases the time that you can maintain your combo by half a second for each level. So eventually, you can, you know, you can have a very long combo, but I yet again, this is an introductory one for me. It falls off compared to other things later on in the game. So it's really good at first, but later on, like Buick says, I think he says NG 10, or maybe it's statue level 10. You phase full Bolgarth out. With Kira, he says also you phase out. This is where my thought process differs a little bit with Buick's. I may or may not be right here. And, you know, argument can be made for either case. And this is actually one of the reasons that a skill build Thief could work, but primary skill build is the other statue. Sorry, I'll call it I'll cover Ozreth first. Ozreth makes you drop a poison cloud when you kill enemies sometimes. This 20% chance. Keyword there, 20% chance. That means when you get your luck up, you're going to cause this to happen more often. Anyone who is poisoned, you do extra damage to. And this one, the reason that this is one that's talked about more than every one of the other ones that does like extra damage to frozen enemies and stuff like that, it's 10% per level instead of 5%. This is one of the reasons that stuff like the, oh geez, what's it called? The poisoned arrow, coated arrow, I think it's what it's called, are huge. If you get Ozreth to level 10, that's 100% extra damage. So I definitely recommend taking Ozreth, but early on in the game, he's not going to do too much for you. This is why Weeks in particular recommends Callus, Bolgarth, and Kira till later on in the game. And then you change to Falarath and Ozreth, he says. But I would contest that by saying that Kira has potential with the Thief, because the Thief's attacks are so fast. This makes your primary attack faster, and you have a 50% chance to fire 2 arrows dealing 10 physical damage. At level 2 of the each level of the statue increases the base damage of the arrows by 4. I don't know if that means, I may be misquoting something, so I don't want to. So I'll just say this. I don't know if, because you can't build a statue till you have level 1 of a statue. At level 1 of a statue, I don't know if that means it already has the +4, or if it's at level 2 it gets it. But whenever you get 2 of those, your arrows are already hitting harder than your primary attack, because they're twin arrows. You gotta remember that. Processing that a little bit, at level 10 of Kira, supposedly, you're hitting for around 50 damage. And at level 20 of Kira, which is what people talk about Callus a lot, level 20 Callus is, the armor is equal to attack power. At level 20 Kira, your base damage is around 90. That's higher than you can ever get with primary attacks and all of the item, or maybe not higher than you can ever get. And Incendiary Demise and all that stuff added up, you may be able to get around there. But you start off with something about as strong as a build with all of the primary attack adding items. Essentially, because the Thief has such high attack speed, and you go luck because you want to evade, this means with that 50% chance, like I said, becomes comparable to a 90% chance with all the luck items, which means you're almost always firing this out. It's stronger than your primary, and if you do a skill build, it's really good. The only problem with this, and I've thought about this a lot, is you can't benefit from Wilmer on this. So for that sole fact, I don't believe in my own ideals. But in a perfect world, Kira could be really good because you can increase the base damage by so much. Yeah, I guess it's my own little pipe dream to make Kira a skill build thief. But I thought I would mention it. I'm not running Valarath. I may actually swap to that eventually because my blueprint is very low, so I have a low level Valarath. But if I had a higher level one, I may run it. But yet again, I really like Kira. 20% faster primary and some other stuff. I mean, Kira just feels good to me. But yeah. I think that wraps it all up. We talked about drinks, we talked about blessings, we talked about statues, we talked about items, and we talked about these skills. This was a really long-winded one, and I am sorry that I talked so much here. I had a lot to say because I play a lot of Thief, and I really like this class. Definitely not for everyone. There's the thing about the Thief that I will note for you, more so than any other class, this class can get underneath your skin. And the reason for that is you rely on your evade so much. So when your evade fails you, it feels awful. And when your evade succeeds, it feels great. You can walk through traps and take no damage without even using your grappling hook sometimes. And other times, you'll walk onto a trap, immediately take 2 ticks of damage and die. It's very RNG based. Your damage is RNG based because a lot of it comes from your percent health damage. Your survivability is RNG based. Um, everything is just up to luck. Everything is up to luck on the thief. Um, and that's it. That's the thief. So if you do play the thief, good luck with it. I really enjoy this class. I hope you guys will too. And just remember, a lot of it's chance, but there's also a lot of stuff you can learn to do better and better when you play the thief to maximize those chances for yourself, so it's less and less aggravating. So I'd recommend, just taking your time with it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride as you go along. And yeah, that's it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys found this helpful, and I appreciate the continued support from each and every one of you. I've gotten a lot of comments lately, and I've already said this, like, I don't know, like in 4 other videos now, 3 other videos. But I mean, I can't stress it enough. I'm really enjoying getting to interact with each and every one of you. So if you have anything to say, I mean, please leave a comment. I mean, I would love to talk to you guys. So yeah. Yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.